When the nation's top law enforcer shrugs off machine gun-style weapons, Senator Reid had to say it. You're ignoring reality, and the public is paying the price.
Senator Reid.
Chairman Moran, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yes. Madam Attorney General, on May 16th, the Department of Justice announced that it dropped litigation to enforce the law against forced reset triggers. These are devices that can be installed in a few minutes on guns like a AR-15 in order to match the rate of fire of a machine gun. In fact, according to demonstrations on YouTube and elsewhere, you can dispose of an entire 30-round magazine in about 4 seconds, so it is a fully automatic weapon. In the press release announcing the settlement, you are quoted as saying the settlement, quote, will enhance public safety. How does putting more automatic weapons, which have been against the law since the 1930s, enhance public safety?
Thank you for that question, Senator Reid. What that will do, it will enhance public safety by settling the litigation, because it is a guarantee that the manufacturer will not put that in handguns. We settled those cases because it was the right decision under the law. But nothing's comical about this. These devices are materially the same as bump stocks. The Supreme Court said last year that they are not machine guns under federal law. We followed the law. We will continue to follow the law. I'm a career prosecutor. I'm going to do everything in my power to keep Americans safe. What we should be concerned about up here are all the illegal guns flowing into our country by illegal aliens who have been free to walk into our country over the past 4 years. And we've taken thousands of those guns off of the street, including drugs, and including violent criminals.
Excuse me. How can you go ahead and say we're more safe today because they will not put these automatic firing devices and pistols, which have magazines of about maybe 20 rounds at most, or maybe 10, and have a range much less than an automatic weapon? Have you ever fired an automatic weapon?
I have.
Well, you understand then that that's a device that was designed to kill people. It's not a hunting rifle. It's not a target rifle. It's mass fire. And you made a compromise saying, well, don't put them in pistols, but you can go ahead and put them out in automatic weapons.
We followed the law. We will continue to follow the law. You and I clearly disagree on the Second Amendment.
Well, I agree that machine guns are not appropriate in the United States, and since 1930 or so, we've outlawed machine guns. And these semi-automatic weapons that are produced in volume are so easily converted to automatic weapons that you're ignoring the reality, frankly.
I'm following the law, Senator.
Well, yes, that's right. By the way, how many American weapons are going into Mexico in a year? What are we doing to stop American weapons going to Mexico to arm their gangs?
Well, we need to support that on both sides.
Well, what are you
in
doing?
And out of the
what
country.
Are you doing to support it on our side?
We are arresting people who have illegal firearms in our country. We're not sending people back to Mexico with guns. We're throwing them in our jails and prosecuting them.
You're allowing them to be purchased in the United States and driven across the border. Most of these gangs have completely turn themselves into military organizations because they're using American weapons, American technology, and your argument is that, well, we're not doing anything about them.
No, not my argument. That was the policy of the last 4 years of the Biden administration with open borders. You could come back and forth across our borders. You could buy guns. You could take guns off the street. You could shoot people in our country. You could bring fentanyl into our country. You could bring methamphetamine into our country. You could bring cocaine into our country. That was the previous administration.
No,
not this
What
one.
are you doing to stop the flow of weapons into Mexico?
We are arresting flow of weapons into. Our borders are closed. We are arresting illegal cartels. Sinaloa from Mexico, MS-13 from El Salvador, TDA. We are arresting from Venezuela, ATF has seized over 14,600 guns since Donald Trump has been president. That's a 33% increase from the last administration. And think about that. That's with our borders secure.
Were they coming into
They weren't doing anything.
Were they coming into the United States?
Our borders are closed. They're not coming in or out of the United States now across Mexico. We've done a 33% increase in firearm seizures. Think about that. Think about that, Senator, from the last administration. 33% increase. And our borders are closed. So we're getting all these guns off the streets that came into our country. And I'm so proud of the work of the men and women in law enforcement.
I don't think you've done anything to severely interrupt the arming of Mexican gangs. Because that's really not what your focus, and I think your focus should be on that. But thank you, Mr. Chairman.
And can I just add one thing? And
no,
because the borders are closed, we are stopping the guns from going to Mexico.
Well, let me ask you another question. If the borders are closed, why do we have a division headquarters of the United States Army in Fort Huachuca and military elements across the board when the borders close and Border Patrol can handle it?
As former military, I would think you would know the answer to that, to keep Americans safe.
No, I think it's to promote the president's policies on the border, and the readiness of our forces is suffering as a result. Thank you.
Senator Britt.
What we just witnessed between Senator Jack Reed and Attorney General Pam Bondi is not just a heated exchange, it's a clash over the very meaning of public safety in America. Reed pressed on a fundamental point. How can devices that effectively turn semi-automatic rifles into machine guns possibly make Americans safer? Forced reset triggers, after all, aren't about hunting or target shooting. They're about firing 30 rounds in a matter of seconds, and as Reed reminded, they've been functionally outlawed since the 1930s because society recognized the danger of automatic weapons. Bondi's defense was that the Department of Justice followed the law and reached a settlement to limit their use in handguns, framing it as a legal necessity rather than a policy choice. But this argument reveals something much deeper: the growing gap between what is legal and what is genuinely safe for the public. When law and safety diverge, whose interests are being served? Are we protecting communities, or are we protecting manufacturers and the politics of the gun lobby? Reed pushed further, highlighting the international consequences. American guns don't just stay in America, they flow into Mexico, fueling cartels, turning gangs into military-style organizations, and destabilizing entire regions. Yet Bondi shifted the focus back to domestic arrests and border security talking points, deflecting from the larger truth. America's gun policies don't just endanger Americans, they export violence across borders. This exchange reveals the limitations of our debates on guns. Too often, officials speak in legal technicalities or political talking points, while the underlying human cost, mass shootings, cross-border violence, communities living in fear, gets buried. Reed tried to confront the reality head-on. Machine guns kill. They're not tools of sport, and the government cannot claim to be enhancing public safety while opening loopholes for rapid-fire weapons. It also shows us something broader about political accountability. When pressed with facts, Bondi leaned on rhetoric about closed borders and seizures, turning the conversation away from systemic solutions and toward partisan victories. But as Reed made clear, acknowledging the scale of the problem is the first step toward solving it. Ignoring it doesn't make it disappear. It only ensures more lives will be lost. Moments like this matter because they cut through the abstractions and force us to confront the question, what does safety really mean in America? Is it about political posturing, or is it about reducing the weapons of war available on our streets and across our borders? These hearings may look like political sparring matches, but they are also windows into how power is wielded, how narratives are shaped, and how the truth is often deflected. And that's why Left Lens exists, to go beyond the sound bites, to examine not just what is said, but what is left unsaid, and to connect the dots between politics, policy, and real-world consequences. If you want to stay informed with analysis that doesn't just tell you what happened, but helps you understand why it matters, make sure you subscribe to Left Lens. Because understanding power is the first step to holding it accountable.